weren't necessary, but the studio released them anyway.
Oh! Bang!
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 movies with forced sequels.
Go!
For this list, we're focusing on films that didn't really leave the window open for a sequel, as they ended with the storylines all tied up or simply had a unique premise, and yet their stories were nevertheless continued with a follow-up film.
I'm back.
Where the sequel was pretty much forced into production and release, and as a result, ended up being inferior to the original.
Can I make all the travel plans from now on?
Deal.
A spoiler alert is probably in order here.
Phil, I think it's happened again.
Number 10, Escape from New York.
We'd make one hell of a team, Snake.
The name's Pliskin.
Released in 1981, partly as a reaction to the Watergate scandal. The original film stars Kurt Russell as the hardened soldier Snake Plissken in a nightmarish futuristic America. By the end of the dystopian action flick, the tale was over. The hero saved the president. Period.
Listen, Snake, I swear to God, I thought you were dead. Yeah, you and everybody else.
But the fact that Escape from New York was a critical and financial success meant that a sequel immediately followed. Well, by immediately, we mean 15 years later, further showcasing how unnecessary it was.
What is that?
Tsunami, Snake. Tsunami! Woo!
Russell returned as Snake in a film which failed to set the world afire.
Remote control unit instruction disc. Get the trucks rolling, we're on fire.
Now that Luther showrunner Neil Cross is set to write a reboot, we wonder whether this is really a film that needs another treatment.
Sad story. You gotta smoke.
Number 9, The Blair Witch Project.
I'm gonna die out here.
The lure of the Blair Witch Project was always in its premise, in which 3 film students attempt to find out more about the Blair Witch, and made an earnest attempt to present the film as found footage.
How would we have, just made a campsite in between 3 piles of rocks just by coincidence?
That formula made it a huge box office smash, and pretty much created an entire genre of horror.
I'm scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them.
Naturally, work soon began on a sequel that would further explore the myth of the Blair Witch. But was anyone really there for the lore?
Yeah, the gene pool's a little shallow here. Dive in, you'll crack your skull open.
A recut by studio execs, a different focus and format from the first film led to its dismal failure at the box office, and ended any chance this had of becoming an enduring franchise.
Something happened to us in the woods. Something evil.
Number 8, Donnie Darko.
Why you wear that stupid bunny suit? Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
Fans of the original Donnie Darko film were pleased by the thought of a sequel, until it turned out that most of the key personnel from the first movie had nothing to do with this later outing.
Promise that one day everything's gonna be better for you.
Shut up!
While the original film features a clever, nuanced, and most importantly tied-up story, including revealing what happens to the titular character, S. Darko had no such luck, as its plot is overly complicated and confusing.
4 days, 17 hours, 26 minutes, 31 seconds. That is when the world will end.
Many fans now refuse to admit that the sequel even exists, and most critics wish they were right.
I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Really? What's he like?
In short, it failed to live up to its predecessor, and barely recouped its meager $4 million budget.
Why can't I touch you?
'Cause we'll explode.
Number 7, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Terminator 2 was a fantastic film with an iconic cast and some utterly heart-wrenching moments. And with Judgment Day averted, it was a great place to end the story.
I'm sorry. I didn't need your help. I can take care of myself.
Why then did it have to have any follow-ups? The third film was passable, despite being unnecessary. But Terminator Salvation was a total misfire that led to the equally unnecessary half-reboot attempt with Terminator Genesis, starring Jai Courtney, a man mainly famous for his lack of charisma.
Are you kidding me?
Like the T-800, this franchise appears to be unstoppable and is probably naturally best killed with fire.
I don't know you, but that
is my one bullet to fire at the heart of Skynet.
Number 6, Weekend at Bernie's.
Larry Lomax is dead.
This film, where an unlikely duo has to go to crazy lengths to pretend that their CEO is still alive, is the very essence of a high-concept gimmick plot, which makes it very difficult to do more than once.
Why do these things always happen to me? What kind of a host invites you to his house for the weekend and dies on you?
Apologies if you've lost a loved one recently, but wouldn't that body have rotted or something in 4 years?
What kind of idiots would steal a dead body?
We did.
The first film was a box office success, but that was where they should have left it.
Get on up, get on up, get on up, get on up.
It took a voodoo ceremony to reanimate the unlucky corpse in the sequel, and when watching the film, you get the feeling something similar happened behind the scenes of this flop.
Oh, we're going to hell.
Number 5, The Exorcist.
Where's Reagan? In here with us.
Commonly acknowledged to be one of the greatest horror films of all time, this William Friedkin classic was followed up by a film commonly perceived to be one of the worst films of all time. One which was directed by John Boorman, even though, at the end of The Exorcist, Reagan turns back to her normal self.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
However, the franchise didn't stop with Exorcist II: The Heretic.
Once the wings have brushed you, you're mine forever.
The Exorcist III was released more than 10 years later and was followed up by 2 different versions of a prequel in the early 2000s.
Sometimes I think the best view of God is from hell.
Fortunately, the shine of the original film was not wiped away by these inferior sequels.
I believed God let us decide between good and evil. I chose good. Evil happened.
Number 4, Speed.
Abandoned ship for this?
Alright, we gotta give the filmmakers a tiny bit of credit. At least they didn't set Speed 2 on a bus for the second time.
How you doing?
Get the shit out of me, Jack! Ow.
Nope, this time it's on a boat. A slow, lumbering cruise ship serves as the main vehicle for a plot which contains all the fast-paced action you'd expect on a slow, lumbering cruise ship.
You get sucked into the propellers, I wouldn't recommend it.
That would suck.
Unfortunately, but unsurprisingly, this was not enough to save the sequel from a dire critical and box office reception.
Come back, you stay with me! You're my hostage!
Critically speaking, it's not only a contender for the worst sequel ever, it might actually be the worst thing ever. But we still have 3 entries to go, so you can decide for yourself.
I swear I am never leaving the house again.
Number 3, Home Alone.
I made my family disappear.
At this point, you'd think that Kevin McAllister's parents would be locked away for serious child neglect.
What else could we be forgetting?
Kevin!
Not content with traumatizing him just once, in the Home Alone sequel, they ditch him in New York City.
What city is that over there?
That's New York, sir.
Yikes, I did it again.
This sequel to the beloved slapstick comedy classic was forced, but it still somehow managed to be enjoyable.
Hey! Don't you know a kid always wins against 2 idiots?
It's nearly beat for beat a remake of the original film, right down to Kevin befriending an ominous outcast with a heart of gold. Unfortunately, the success of the second entry led to a string of 3 subpar sequels, capped by a lackluster made-for-TV movie in 2012.
So you don't get Christmas?
Oh, they'll send me something.
Well, if you're alone, it's not really Christmas.
What's next? Home Alone: The College Years?
House, clean yourself up. Well, it's worth a try.
Number 2, The Hangover.
By the way, man, where you get that cop car from?
We, stole it from these dumbass cops.
Despite whom you ask, the first Hangover film was either a laugh riot or another boring buddy movie.
Oh, hey! Holy he's not kidding, there's a tiger in there.
No, there isn't.
Yeah!
People tend to be less divided on the sequels.
If I ran a third time, it'd be sort of like doing a third Hangover movie. Didn't really work out very well, did it?
When it comes to the do-overs, most find they were just simply unnecessary and offered nothing new to the mix, especially since they find Doug and he's married by the end of the first film and all.
I'm sorry, we're just having a bad day.
Oh, you're having a bad day? Did you die?
The sequels were just more of the same, but with none of the charm that made the original so popular.
What the f*** is wrong with those chickens?
They're angry. All I feed them is cocaine. And chicken.
Some reviewers even questioned whether the third film was actually meant to be a comedy, which is damning no matter which way you look at it.
Do you even know how to get home? Of course I do. I'm a grown man. I'll ask a stranger.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
Everything will be all right in the end.
And if it is not all right, then it is not yet the end.
Sonny.
It will succeed.
I went with low expectations and came back disappointed.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Besides, it's hard to kill McClane.
I'm hungry. I can't last any longer. Then go home, baby. I have to anyway. My mom will be worried. Leave then.
It's not his fault. No, it was me. I'm sorry, Mom, really. Just tell me what to do. I'll do anything.
Jesus speaks to me in my dreams.
Oh, yeah? That's cool. Good.
I can't explain it. But I promise you that Trevor's okay.
Number 1, Jaws.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Jaws was more or less the inventor of the summer blockbuster.
I'm not going to waste my time arguing with a man who's lining up to be a hot lunch. I'm going to see you later, bro.
Unintentionally, it also fathered the slog of sequels that usually follows a well-received summer blockbuster.
Our shark couldn't have killed Overman. Its mother did.
You talking about some damn shark's mother?
In popular culture, this franchise has become infamous for its terrible and illogical sequels. While Jaws 2 did pick up from the first film, somehow, I mean, did it really need to? The shark was dead.
All right, you big bastard! Come on! I got something for you now!
The third film jumped on the 80s 3D bandwagon and tanked, while Jaws the Revenge is only notable to Michael Caine, who is still pretty pleased with the house that it bought him.
Come on, you overgrown goldfish. Come to Uncle Jake.
The franchise is now dead in the water, we hope, and we're all grateful for that.
They're all gonna die.
Do you agree with our list? Which movie sequel did you find forced?
Okay, you know what? We don't remember anything that happened last night, so help us out a little here.
For more vital top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Sir, that'll shut down the entire planet.
I told you you'd better hope I didn't make it back.